Hello everyone, it's Jeff again, and I would like to tell you the story of Two Guns, Arizona. My story begins today on a windswept plain in the middle of Arizona with a sign announcing that this is the city of Two Guns, Arizona, and not much else. Originally, I was doing research for a video that I was going to do on the demise of the KOA campgrounds. I stopped and grabbed some pictures of the abandoned KOA campground, but upon doing research, I find there is a much bigger story that Two Guns has to tell, and I am going to tell you that story right now. A group of Apache warriors attacked a Navajo village near Two Guns and wiped everyone out except for 3 young girls. When a neighboring Navajo tribe went to visit and found everyone dead, they tracked the Apache warriors to this cave where they were hiding. They stacked brush near the entrance of the cave and lit it on fire and burned the Apache warriors alive. It's claimed that 42 Apache warriors died inside the cave. However, most historians now believe it was more than that. And later on in this story, I will tell you why. From the fall of 1879 to the spring of 1880, our friend Billy the Kid spent his winter hiding from the law in our little cave in Two Guns, Arizona. In 1880, the railroad came here and began building a railroad trestle across a canyon very near Two Guns. The surveyors had such a difficult time building the bridge, they called the canyon Canyon Diablo. Upon completion of the railroad bridge in 1890, this is what our village looked like. It consisted mostly of 14 saloons and 4 brothels. The main street that went through the middle of town was affectionately called Hell Street. When the little village grew big enough, they decided that they needed to hire a peace officer. They had a ceremony where they pinned the badge on him at 3 p.m., and at 8 p.m., they lowered the man in the ground. They actually had 5 marshals the first year, and they all were killed. At the beginning of the following year, the 6th U.S. Marshal was killed in the line of duty, and it was at that time that some of the local people began to wonder if their little village was cursed. It was at this time a pretty spectacular train robbery happened at Canyon Diablo. The bandits made off with $100,000 in currency, 2,500 silver dollars, and $40,000 in gold coins. All of that in 1880s dollars. It equates to over $3 million in current dollars, not counting any appreciation in gold itself. Most of the loot was never recovered. For a short time, the town had 2,000 residents, but after the bridge was completed, the town died almost as quickly as it had been established, leaving only the Voles trading post behind. These are the members of the posse that tracked down the bandits that had robbed the train. There was 4 robbers. They ended up catching them in Utah several months later. And during the time they were bringing them back for trial, one of them escaped, made his way to Texas, and wasn't captured until the following year. They all got lengthy prison sentences in the territorial prison. Upon their release many years later, they all said that they had buried the loot out on the desert and had forgotten where they had buried it. Treasure hunters are still looking today. On April 7th, 1905, 2 men named William Evans and John Shaw robbed a saloon in Winslow and made off with $200 in coins. 2 lawmen pursued the bandits. On the following day, they encountered each other in Canyon Diablo. A shootout ensued, which was described at the time as one huge explosion that resulted in the death of Shaw and the wounding and capture of Evans. The man who owned the saloon was Pete Pemberton, who was also the deputy sheriff of Navajo County. The next day, the bandits were found in Canyon Diablo. John Shaw was killed, and here is a photograph of him propped up by the deputies. Evans survived, although wounded, and was sent to the territorial prison for 9 years. From 1906 until around 1912 or 1913, the Voles trading post pictured here was pretty much the only thing left in town. In 1907, the Canyon Diablo Bridge was built, and it was used later for Route 66. Having such a nice road run through the area brought tourists and people passing through the area and was the catalyst to make 2 guns grow once more. In 1908, Ed Randolph built this small store to trade with the Indians next to the Death Cave. He operated it until 1922. At that time, he sold the entire 320 acres of land to Earl and Louise Cundiff for $1,000, and they built a store, a restaurant, and something new, a gas station. Here is the little gas station they built, and this was the store where they sold Navajo rugs and Indian curios. In 1925, they were visited by a con man named Harry Miller, who leased the property from the Cundiffs and began extensive construction. Calling himself Chief Crazy Thunder, Miller wanted to capitalize on the beauty of Canyon Diablo and the flow of passing tourists. Miller erected a zoo with cages made of brick, mortar, and chicken wire. His zoo animals included mountain lions, cougars, Gila monsters, coral snakes, birds, and a lynx. A restaurant and Indian gift shop was open, and Miller cleaned out the Death Cave, selling any Apache skulls he found as souvenirs. And he sold a lot more than 42, which is why historians now believe that more than 42 of the warriors died in the cave. Here is a picture of the much better Texaco gas station that Miller built and the small restaurant adjacent to it. Flamboyant signs were also placed along the highway and Miller named the new town Fort Two Guns as an homage to the silent movie star William S. Two Guns Hart, with whom Miller claimed to have previously worked. He applied with the post office to have the town's name changed to Two Guns, but was turned down. The postmaster insisted that the town be called Canyon Lodge. The Cundiffs and the Millers got into a disagreement about this and the terms of their lease. Miller pulled out a gun during the disagreement and shot Cundiff dead. He was arrested but later acquitted and returned to his shop. But a short time later, there was a fire that completely destroyed his store. Louise Cundiff took possession of the property again and built a small gift shop on the property. She quickly remarried and in 1934 reopened the zoo and the main Texaco service station. The zoo operated until 1950 when it was closed. 1938 saw a building explosion with a new modern gas station, a KOA campground, and a modern water system. Two Guns kind of limped along for the next few years, changed hands several times, and basically fell into ruin until 1971. In 1971, a fire came through and pretty much destroyed everything. In the late 1990s, Two Guns was sold again, and this time to an anonymous buyer that no one really knew who it was. There was all kinds of speculation, but I'll give you a hint as to who they said it was. It was about this time that an RV was brought in and set up, and a young man named Jimmy Solinger was hired to be caretaker at Two Guns. He lived in the RV and attempted to keep vandals out and people hunting for relics. A year or so later, Jimmy Solinger was found dead in the RV. It was ruled a suicide. It seems the curse of Two Guns is not yet satisfied. I leave you now, back with William S. Two Guns Hart and a bit of the ruins of Two Guns, Arizona, on a high plain in the middle of Arizona. Remember, everyone, be good to each other, think good thoughts, do good deeds, and I will see you again.